So guys, Halloween has passed, which means it's officially winter time. We're getting closer to Christmas. That means I can wrap up without you guys looking at me like I'm insane. So yeah, we got the jacket on for this one. Gonna feel nice and cozy, you know, wrapping up for the winter. So hey guys, CDTVThaG here, and the G of course stands for Got That Follow from Soulja Boy on Twitter. My dreams have been achieved. The 2007 squad is now finally official, and if you guys want to make sure you're part of it, go follow me on Twitter at CDTV Productions. I share it with my twin. You have to follow it now because Soulja Boy himself follows that account. But with that little flex out of the way, today we are going to be reacting to the new album from Takeoff titled The Last Rocket. I gotta say I'm a little bit apprehensive because even though Takeoff a lot of the time has the best verses out of the Migos trio, I just don't think any one of them works better as a solo act than they do within the group. Quavo doesn't work better as a solo artist, Offset doesn't work better as a solo artist, and Takeoff doesn't work better as a solo artist. But Takeoff is also very good at rapping. Like I said, he's killed a lot of verses, so there is a part of me that's definitely excited to hear this, and excited to see what he brings to the table. Scanning through the track list, it looks like there's no features. Either the features aren't listed, or there's just none. If there's none, I'm worried. Whilst this isn't an overloaded album like Quavo's was, Quavo's album at least had features. This one is like the perfect length, but still, I can't take 12 solo tracks of Takeoff, I just know it. But with that said, regardless, you know, if it's good music, it's good music and I can be happy. So let's not waste any more time before we jump into this one, guys. We're going to start with track number 1, which is Martian. This cover art is pretty cool, I gotta say that. I guess this is what Takeoff was doing while Offset and Quavo were making Bad and Bougie.
My diamonds fighting they boxing. Heavyweight. Smoking, no cooking, no cockpit. My bitches
Cookie! Takeoff has good ad-libs, I'll give him that.
I'm on, he on, we on, she on. We on. That body, no breaking no wrist. 2-ton the paddock, I 2-ton the Cuban, I 2-ton the whip with a 2-tone bitch. I can beat it down, plug. We done been around the globe with trending. Watch how I load the extension. My diamonds fighting they boxing. Heavyweight. Smoking, no cooking, no cockpit.
Cookie!
I don't start it, then park it. Remember this shit with the Barclays. No stand up coming Steve Harvey.
Okay, in my opinion, as you could probably tell from my reaction, that was a very kind of lukewarm start to the album. We didn't get anything that made me particularly excited for this one. It's just very, very typical Takeoff. You know, the beat was nothing too special. The flows were just the typical Migos flows that you always hear, with not much of an original spin on them. Lyrically, most of the time with the Migos, you're never going to be getting anything new lyrically, but I've been listening to a lot of their music recently, and I've basically heard all these lyrics before from them. You know, this is just all incredibly standard stuff, and it was nothing like mind-blowing or interesting to open up the album. It's just got me feeling like, yeah, Takeoff's not going to be able to carry this on his own. Maybe that'll change up on the next track. Maybe we'll get, you know, more interesting production that really brings more life out of him. But this track, it was just nothing special. I don't feel the need to listen to this one again. Not the best intro, but maybe things will pick up with track number 2, which is Gon Wink.
Passengers, we've now reached our destination. We hope you enjoyed the flight.
Okay, so do we have like a kind of little concept going throughout this album? Because I think at least that would be cool. That's something that not a lot of Migos albums have done. So, you know, the first track talked about the rocket taking off, and now this track on the intro starts with the rocket landing at its destination. If that's something that continues throughout the whole thing, at least that'll be something that shows some kind of effort went into this. So I think that's cool. Oh, that's Quavo. Okay. We have features, but they're not listed, thank God. Quavo is my least favorite Migo, but his hook game is good. He makes good hooks. Fucking protects. Stop. That was another one that I just think it's an alright track, but again, not sure if it's something I'm gonna listen to again. I think the fact that it was Quavo on the hook, it added a lot more to this song, and it made it better than the last track, because like I said when he was rapping, Quavo is my least favorite member of the group, but he does the best hooks out of the group as well. And him providing a hook here definitely made the track a lot more enjoyable to me. As for Takeoff, I'm still trying to see him come through with something a bit different on here. Again, it's the flows and the lyrics that are just what we've heard a million times from Takeoff before, mentioning Patek's, Eminem's, and I was hoping we would at least get something a little bit stand out for his solo project, and we haven't really got that from him yet. So honestly, the main highlight on this track for me was Quavo. 2 tracks in, we're not doing too well. We're not doing fantastic, although I did like the beat on this track. Wow, it's actually getting really hot in here. I didn't expect that. Okay, the jacket's coming off. I guess let's just move on to the next one. We have track number 3, None to Me.
That apparently it was represented in this.
Yo, is this the guy, that sounds like the guy from Elders React. That guy has a very distinct voice. I don't know his name, but did they sample that from the Fame Bros? From an Elders React video? That's pretty cool. That's interesting, at least.
She hit the cup, I asked her, did she bite the Earl on me? Every time I like get a pop, made me wanna drop some. Like looking at my money stacked, that why the whip ain't bought one.
Whoa. Takeoff. Stay on the beat. What the fuck was that? Did you guys hear that shit?
Every time I like get a pop, made me wanna drop some. Like looking at my money stacked, that why the whip ain't bought one. Not that I can't get one, or not that I don't want
Okay,
one.
we're getting...
But if you even got it, I won't have time to drive one.
Yo. We're not letting that shit fly. That sounded like it was fucking edited because he was flowing so bad.
I want one, so but if you even got it, I won't have.
Did you hear that? It's like they cut the vocals out from a previous take midway through a word and then just slammed the next take onto it halfway through that word. That was awful. Okay, this is better.
Looking at that footage gave me the red eyes. I can believe it. It's all good. It's your who down for me.
Why did that sound so... That verse, like, it sounded nice, but the way it flowed and the lyrics, it sounded so thrown together. Let's start with the things I liked about this track. The way Takeoff's voice sounded during the verse, I think that was pretty cool. You know, we don't always hear him doing this kind of auto-tune style, so that's always interesting to hear. He has a very interesting voice when it meshes with autotune. So this one did sound alright. I think the beat was very good on this one as well. I actually really enjoyed the production on this one. You know, that kind of darker, harder hitting sound is something that really works well with Takeoff's voice. But the flow, that flow at the start of the first verse was inexcusable. Does Takeoff like need drums to flow on beat? Because that was atrocious. That was one of the worst flows I've ever heard from Takeoff. How that made it into the album, I do not know. And also towards the end, the verse started sounding really thrown together. The rhyme scheme was hitting at really random places. Still, we haven't had a song that I would say is great on this album yet, so hopefully we're leading into that. You know, I'm just going to play the end of this track again so it runs into the next track smoothly, and we'll get onto it, the next one, which is called Vacation. Okay, Murder Beats is good, so I'm hopeful.
I just took your bitch to Europe for a vacation. I'm on breakers, I'm on syrup, nigga, dumb waste. I'm not a racist, but my nigga can't make Caucasian. Beat that pattern bowl, beat that pattern bowl. The way I ball, I'm in Curry, be the age ball. It's amazing.
We don't need any more references to balling like Curry in rap music ever again.
NFL, Tom Brady, Black, Slim Shady. Gotta thank my mama, grandma, cause they helped made me.
Is Takeoff calling himself the Black Slim Shady? How many times am I gonna say it this album? Another okay track, but you know, I think I'm starting to like realize what my actual problem with this is, and it's quite an obvious problem. I feel like it's just the fact that the Migos music has been completely oversaturated in the past year or two. We've just gotten so much music from these guys that sounds so similar that even though the flows are nice on this song, even though the beat's nice on this song, it just doesn't stand out to me because it's something we've already heard a million times, not just before, but in the past year. You know, we've heard all of this before. We've heard Takeoff doing this. Yeah, I'm really just starting to lose interest in this album already, and it is a shame because, like I said, Takeoff has killed tracks like Commando before. The Look Alive remix, the Don't Tell 'Em remix. He owns those tracks, but that's not really what we're seeing on here. This is interchangeable with so many other Migos tracks. Well, let's go on to the next one. I'm hoping this will be a bit different because this is actually the single that Takeoff released from this album. I haven't heard it yet. It's called Last Memory, so let's just jump right into that.
Woke up the morning, can't remember nothing. Two bitches just flying from London. Two bitches, I think I remember they calling me daddy. The mansion was covered in money. Cool with the kid, copy. Got to pull up with a stick, stop it.
Okay.
Rich nigga shit, solid.
The beat on this one is a bit different. The delivery switched up between the hook and this part. Nice. Okay, this is what I want more of.
They don't know the meaning of the white. You don't really live this life. No, niggas in the hood shoot twice. So my niggas in the hood shoot precise. Bitches. The thing I remember they calling me.
Takeoff can really kill a little like monotone flow like this. It actually sounds kind of nice. See that sample on the beat? That shit is so nice. It's got this kind of like almost outer space vibe to it. It sounds a little bit alien. Conceptually, that instrumental kind of fits in with the album. That was easily the first song that I actually feel like is a fully formed track on here. It's the first one that sounds like an actual song to me. This is where the album starts, in my opinion. Takeoff switched his delivery a lot on this track, and he had multiple different flow switches too. This was a good song. I can see why he released this as a single. So we're going on to track number 6, which is called I Remember.
I remember, I remember, I remember, I remember that. I can't forget, I can't forget, I can't forget. I remember, I remember, I remember.
I love that. He realized it would probably get a bit boring if he said I remember for the entire hook, so he just substituted in a different way of saying it by saying I can't forget it, can't forget it, can't forget it on the third line. Absolute genius, Takeoff.
Been a savage, now my niggas saying cases out the case. Go to places, come back, break the suitcase down to mama base. Till I start hitting lists and walking out with diamonds. Was a Michael Kors, now that bullet's perfect timing. I remember, I remember, I remember.
Another one that's kind of back to just being an okay track, probably more enjoyable than the first 4, I think. You know, again, we've pretty much heard everything lyrically that we're gonna hear from the Migos at this point. Takeoff was just telling us about, you know, his past as a drug dealer, which we've already heard a lot about before, you know. It was kind of cool how it was structured with this whole I remember thing. It's okay. It's okay. No offense to Takeoff, because I think he's a decent rapper, but I wasn't expecting this album to be so kind of boring so far. Because it kind of has been. That's all I really have to say for that one. Let's move on to track number 7, which is Lead the Wave.
Watch out, I lead the way, lead.
This beat really sounds like All Ass by Migos, doesn't it?
I'm at the lead the way, lead.
It's got the same kind of production elements to it, and some of the notes sound a little similar.
Go get that bag, don't fumble it. No take it, we did the race.
No take we did the race? But take did do the race. I don't know. Why am I looking into this? I don't care.
But I do that. I'm from the lost muscle, my cookie in LA, feel like I got traded. Feel like I'm traded. Going through phases, only want bands, they calling me braces. Wanna learn, gotta have patience.
I'd say that was another one of the better tracks. Maybe a little bit too long, but definitely one of the better ones. You know, the beat had a bit more of a lively sound to it on this one. That contrasting with Takeoff's kind of husky voice, I think that works pretty well. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a track about, you know, being successful, how he got to where he's at and how he's going to stay there, even though people told him that he wasn't going to be shit. You know, one of those kind of tracks. If there is something positive I could say for this though, it's that since Last Memory, the quality of the tracks has been a bit of an increase since the first 4, so I can give it that. Let's go on to track number 8, another one which is over 3 minutes, which in any other artist's case I'd be fine with that, but when it's a solo Takeoff song, I don't know if you can really carry it 3 minutes. That was the issue with this previous song, but let's go on to track number 8, see how it sounds. It's called Casper.
I'ma go ride the rave. I'ma go ride the rave.
So it's called Casper because, you know, Ghost Ride, the Wraith.
Cause I know I'm who they after. Fucking bastard. How much you charge a feature? Extra 20 if you ask.
That flute there, that's nice.
No flare, but the ice on fleek. No flare. Walking out with the bag and receipt. Walking out. No clout, all facts when I speak.
You know what I kind of feel like? I feel like if you've never listened to an album that features Takeoff before, if you've never listened to a full Migos album before, maybe this music will sound really good to you. But, you know, the context that I'm listening to it under is as somebody that's listened to almost every other Migos project out there. I think with that kind of context, it just makes this music very kind of uninteresting, because this isn't anything that sounds outstandingly bad. It's not shockingly bad music by any means. It's just the fact that it's so played out by this point. Like, he's really losing my interest at this point. I'm about to start zoning out of this album. We only have 4 tracks left, but I'm starting to lose it, guys. I'm starting to lose it. But let's move on to track number 9. Hopefully this track stops me from falling asleep, because this one is called Insomnia. Okay. Okay, energy, there we go. That bit was nice. A little switch up is all I need, man.
this shit getting crazy now. I'ma take the money on days. Fucking record it on tape. AP iced out face. Full focus, I love the taste. I've been up, hey, we been up.
This is the best part of the track right here. But apart from that, there's nothing I can say about that. I'm really trying not to be repetitive on this because I want to be criticizing him for the same things I'm doing in this video. So I'm trying not to repeat myself. But I don't know if there's anything I can say about this track that I haven't already said about the other ones, you know? At this point, I'm really feeling like this album would benefit from features. This just kind of proves the point I said earlier. Like, we had one feature from Quavo so far, but if we had some more, I'd say, honestly, Takeoff needs a feature on maybe like every second or third track to keep things interesting. Because we need a switch up from his voice. Whilst Takeoff's voice does sound good in short bursts, it's not something that sounds good across an entire album uninterrupted. He just doesn't really have the vocal range for that. He has a somewhat husky, kind of dry voice, and it doesn't lend well to a full album without any features to kind of break it up and inject something new into the tracks. I feel like if it had features, you'd be anticipating Takeoff's verse, because you'd be like, okay, this feature's doing well, but I know Takeoff is going to come in and kill it now. Alright, let's hit up track number 10. This one has me worried again, because this one is almost 4 minutes. We're in for something here, but hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's good. We got track number 10, Infatuation. Where did this come from? Okay. Is this a feature? Do we have a feature right after I ranted about the features? Such a drastic switch up. Okay. This kind of reminds me of Mind of Logic with all these like different voices coming from all these different angles.
I gotta get close to you, baby, right now.
See, now I'm anticipating Takeoff's verse.
I give you the world more than diamonds and pearls. Show you more love than that double cup and syrup. Picking up the phone when the vision is a blur. No one did I'm dead wrong. No, I gotta call her. That iced out paddock on the wrist. I gotta look at.
Still had to mention Patex.
It ain't about the cars. It ain't all about the chain. Looking up at the stars.
Then why is that 90% of what you rap about?
What you wanna pick it right? I can get you what you name, but love don't cost a thing.
It's a nice way to close out that verse. Okay, Takeoff. Easily one of the standout tracks on here. It stands out so much from everything else. Like, that doesn't fit into this album at all, but I'm glad it's on here because it was a good break from everything else that we've been getting on here, which is what I've been wanting. This is what I've been wanting this whole album. Something that sounds a bit different to what Takeoff usually does. It's got a feature. It's got a beat that we don't typically hear him over, and there's actually a little bit of a kind of concept or lyrical theme that he's going for. This is everything I wanted from this album in one track. I just wish we had this on more of the tracks so far. But hopefully this album at least closes strong so I can really get something from it. So track number 10 was good. Let's move on to track number 11, the second last one, which is Soul Plane. Okay. It's weird because this doesn't seem too different aesthetically from like the first 4 tracks or I Remember, but there's something that's more interesting about this one. I think there's a bit more energy to this one with Takeoff's flow and the beat. That is flexing. That's quite literally flexing. I forgot, we have another verse on this song. This one could have ended right now, and I feel like it would be a relatively solid track. Hopefully this next verse is good though.
Go get the bag, just stuck in and save it. Give him the word to see what he do with it. You want your life or you want the paper? Pick one. Things ain't right. I pick at the can, I'm aiming at faces.
So like I said for that one, it was kind of similar to a lot of the other tracks on here. You know, it kind of had that same sound as I Remember with that kind of dark, kind of trap style sound to it. But there was something about this track that just made it a little bit more entertaining. I think, you know, Takeoff's flow was more energetic on the hook. The beat itself just sounded very nice. The production was pretty hard hitting on it. Whilst I don't particularly think this song needed 2 verses, it didn't feel like it dragged on for too long, and that's okay. Again, I think an improvement over a lot of the previous tracks. Let's move on to the closing track on the album. Track number 12, which is Bruce Wayne. Another one that's almost 4 minutes. Please have a feature. Please have a feature. Okay, it's a little bit ominous. I like that. Build up some tension. Got some little flutes in the background, okay.
Before that bad and bougie been on flame.
But you weren't on Bad and Bougie, Takeoff.
Remember that first time I stepped on the stage, I was nervous. Had butterflies in my stomach. I wanted to vomit. I was nervous.
See, something as simple as that, because the Migos always have this kind of a hard demeanor to them. They're very rarely kind of show any vulnerability on tracks or in interviews. So literally just hearing Takeoff saying something as simple as, I was nervous the first time I had to rap on stage. That to me from Takeoff is vulnerability. Just literally him saying something as simple as that. From any other rapper that would probably be a standard thing, but I appreciate that he's not scared to tell us that he's actually human on this track. His voice sounds strange on this track.
I just took it to Kansas. 4-4 Papa Sanders. She thought it but a baddie. They would never understand it.
There it is. There's the world out there.
Oh yeah.
Start the camera.
The concept of the album that we haven't seen since track 2, I forgot about that. It's a bit of a slower track to close it out than I expected. When I first heard the beat on this song, I actually thought Takeoff was maybe going to go in on the verses, you know, it was going to be some crazy rapping type shit. But it was just more kind of auto-tune stuff. His voice didn't sound great at particular points, but it definitely could have been worse. It's not the worst track I've heard from Takeoff. And you know, that last rapping verse, it flowed together quite nicely. I also like that it was kind of structured a bit differently. You know, it wasn't just verse, hook. It was like a verse, and then a little interlude, and then another verse, and then a little interlude, and then another verse. Which did help with making it sound a bit different. Overall, what do I think about The Last Rocket by Takeoff? It's definitely an album that started to get better towards the end, but this to me isn't a good album at all. It's actually quite a boring album, as you could tell from my reaction. The first 4 tracks barely contain anything notable at all. I think the album for me starts at Last Memory. While we're speaking on that, the best tracks on here for me are easily Last Memory, Infatuation, and maybe like Soul Plane. So there's 3 tracks that I actually got out of a 12-track album, which, if you do the math, it's not a lot. But honestly, I just kind of feel like this reinforced the thought I had in my head that Takeoff doesn't work as a solo artist. None of the Migos do. I personally still think Offset will have the best solo album when that drops, but I still don't think it's going to be good. I think Takeoff is great as a featured rapper. I think he's great with the Migos. On his own, he just doesn't hold up. Also, this whole Last Rocket concept, it didn't really go anywhere. We had the kind of the introduction to the concept on track 1. Track 2, it continued it a little bit, and then we didn't hear anything about it, I'm pretty sure, until this last track, track number 12. Now, I do want to say I don't think this is absolutely awful. It's not terrible. Whilst a lot of this album was boring, there's not really anything on here that I would say was downright shockingly bad, apart from that flow on the verse of None to Me. What was that? Everything else on here, most of it was just incredibly lackluster and underwhelming. That's all I got to say for this one today, guys. What did you think of Takeoff's album, The Last Rocket? Let me know down in the comments below. Does your opinion differ from mine? Is it the same? Is there some stuff we agree on, some stuff we don't? Just let me know. Of course, you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and you can find me on social media under the name CDTV Productions. That's on Twitter and Instagram. I, of course, share those accounts with my twin, who is CDTV Productions. Like I said, we got that Soldier Boy follow, so you have to follow. You just gotta do it. And that's all I gotta say for today, guys. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next one, and this is CDTV the G, signing out.